Hey guys, Mike here. So today, I'm here to talk to you about Long Shot. In this review, I'll be going over a brief summary of the plot, my quick thoughts about the film, and whether or not you guys should go and see it. So I'm going to try and keep this review spoiler-free. However, if you don't know anything about the film, and you want to go in completely blind, then it's just come back to this video once you've seen the film. So with that, let's get started, shall we?
Wow, he's so bendy, huh? Oh, ouch.
So Long Shot stars Charlize Theron as Charlotte Field and Seth Rogen as Fred Flasky. In Long Shot, Charlotte Field is the Secretary of State who has this big eco-friendly plan of how to clean up the world and basically just, reduce the carbon footprint around the world. And she uses this big eco-friendly plan to kind of promote herself to become the next president of the United States. Fred Flasky, on the other hand, is a respected journalist who recently quit his job because they were bought out by this big businessman who pretty much stands for everything that he's against. So because Fred's quite upset about losing his job, he goes to see his old friend Lance, who's played by O'Shea Jackson Jr., and the two of them go out to basically just forget about their troubles. While at a party, Fred sees Charlotte, and he tells Lance that the two of them used to know each other when they were younger. Charlotte, as well, also recognises Fred and asks to meet him, so the two of them catch up, and then basically she decides that because she knows that he's a well-respected journalist, she decides that she'll get him on her staff to help write her speeches and help promote herself. Even though Fred feels completely out of his depth, he decides to take the job because he really wants to try and get to know Charlotte all over again. So the two of them go around the world together, Fred helps write his speeches, and Charlotte pretty much tries to promote herself so she can announce herself as the next candidate for the presidency. And so we have Long Shot. Now, first of all, the two performances. I don't think there's really much you can say about Seth Rogen because if you've seen Seth Rogen in nearly everything that he's done, he's always pretty much just Seth Rogen. He doesn't really deviate from that. He doesn't really do anything new. He doesn't really have any particularly great acting chops in this. But that's not to say that he's bad in this. He is just Seth Rogen. Charlize Theron, on the other hand, it's not really all that often you get to see her do comedy roles. I mean, the last ones I can think of were probably A Million Ways to Die in the West, Hancock, or Gringo. But Gringo doesn't count because that movie was not funny. Because more often than not, she's known for her more dramatic roles and more intense roles. It's just nice to see her a bit out of her comfort zone, I'd say. Whether doing comedy is out of Charlize Theron's comfort zone, I don't know. But, like all her other roles, she absolutely nails it and she's just really funny to watch on screen. It was just great seeing her character change so much throughout the movie because at the start she's quite insecure about everything she does because she's told that she kind of waves funny, she has a weird smile, so, they're really kind of picking on her littlest insecurities. But in the world of politics, this is kind of the world they live in. But as the movie goes along, with Fred's help, she starts to realise why she's doing this, why she has a passion for politics, and just really she starts to kind of let all these insecurities go and just be a bit more easygoing. And speaking of Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen, the biggest issue I thought I was going to have with this was being that, Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron, they would have absolutely no chemistry and it just wouldn't work and this would be the movie's biggest downfall. And surprisingly, this was not the case. Now, it is a bit of a leap of imagination that Seth Rogen could end up with Charlize Theron, but that is the point of the movie. Because everyone else is telling me that there's absolutely no way that these two would work because of just pretty much how different they are. But it's these differences that start to make them realise how much they actually do have in common. Because Charlotte talking to Fred makes her realise that she hasn't had much of a chance to kind of really do what she wants to do other than her job. I'd say if this was a TV series, they would have had really more time to kind of develop their relationship and make it a bit more believable how they actually got together. But this being a 2-hour movie instead of a TV series, I think they did a decent job making their relationship seem believable. The next person I want to talk about is O'Shea Jackson Jr. I mean, this guy is killing it right now. The guy only started like 4 years ago, and he already has 10 acting credits to his name. One of those hasn't even come out yet, and 3 are already in post-production. Each one of his roles does feel quite diverse from the other. Every scene this guy is in, he just absolutely kills it. I mean, he pretty much just plays the psychic character, and he doesn't really do anything different that any other psychic character in a comedy doesn't do. But he's just an absolute delight to watch on screen. And I look forward to seeing what this guy does in the future, because I think he's got a very, very bright career ahead of him. But really, the main thing we got to talk about, this being a comedy as it is this movie funny? And I would have to say, yes, this movie is quite funny, but does it do anything that we haven't seen before? Is the humour intelligent? Is it witty? No, it's not. For the most part, it is kind of slapstick humour. Well, not for the most part. There are quite a few standout moments where it is quite slapstick, but for the most part, it is kind of obvious American humour, which It's not that it's not funny, it's just that it's pretty much exactly the same as all other American comedies out there. I'd say probably the funniest thing about this, though, is kind of really seeing a politician really kind of put themselves out there and say why they believe in this and actually showing passionately why they believe it and really sticking to their gun. Because you know that for a fact, they just say what they say because they want against power. They'll say one thing and then they'll completely change their mind. And there is a scene where she really does, despite all the odds, really stick to her guns. And it was quite a really good scene. It was one of these scenes where you really kind of like throw your fist in the air, like, yeah, that's awesome. But you know for a fact this would not happen in real life. This kind of stuff only really happens in the movies. But having said that, it doesn't really take away from how good this scene was. Overall, guys, I like Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron together. They really play well off each other, and they were quite entertaining to watch. The movie's fairly funny. The script is, yeah, you know, it's okay. It's not exactly original. But the biggest probably standout in the movie is definitely O'Shea Jackson Jr., who, like I've said, I really look forward to seeing what he does next. But now, as for or not, you guys should go and see it. Honestly, even after all the positive things I said about it, I don't think there's really much of a reason to go out of your way seeing this one. I mean, for example, if you're one of these people who only go see 1 or 2 things, or maybe even only 10 movies in a year, and you're looking for something really, really good to see to make your time worth it, I would say that this is definitely not one of those movies. However, if you go to cinema near enough all the time and you pretty much go to see everything, you could definitely do a lot worse than this movie. Ultimately, I liked it, and on a personal note, I probably would recommend it, but I don't think this is necessarily one that you want to go to the cinema for because it doesn't really offer anything that is enhanced by having it on a big screen. But if you're interested, you know, go see it. It's a decent time at the cinema. The funniest thing, though, I found that because just before going to see this movie, I'd watched Endgame for the second time, and that movie's 3 hours long, but yet that movie went so much quicker than this 2-hour-long movie. I don't know, just found that a bit weird. Okay, guys, that's my review for Long Shot. If you've seen it, what did you think about it? And what's your favourite Charlize Theron comedic role? Whatever it is, drop it in the comments below. And until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!